A new week, a new project. So here we have a Forano sawmill, much more complete than the other one that you probably saw me post on this channel. This thing came up not terribly far from here, and I just couldn't refuse it. It has all the bells and whistles, and it has been treated properly and oiled. So that's the first thing I'm going to do with it as it sits here, is give it a big old douse of oil. So here you can see the top piece. That's the extended shaft, so that couples to the end of the main shaft. And that great big bearing goes on the other side. And this belt lets you either run it from a power source or run back to another machine like an edging saw. If you look at the Husk over there, that flat belt pulley right on the end can do the same, either provide power as it is or attach the elongated shaft and run something else off of it. So it's a really nice original unit. Everything is in reasonable shape. It's been used, but it's been well maintained. There's not much slop. If you look at the rack and pinion here, they're in good shape. They're not cracked. We have the big dogs for the bigger logs, and then a couple of these Forano marked blocks here have these little dogs for your last cut with a 1-inch board or something like that. It also, one thing that really turned me on about it is it has the retractor, if you will. So that wheel on the bottom, you can attach a pedal to a board, and when this thing is empty, when it's gone to the other side of the saw on the last pass, and the fellow on the other side takes the board off, you can press a pedal, and as you pull this thing back to load new log on, this system will draw the whole feed works back, and it'll prepare itself so you don't have to sit there flipping that thing and wrenching it backwards by hand. So that's a nice little time saver on it there. On top of it sitting here is a butting saw. It's missing the pulleys on the top. This would have been a line shaft run unit. So you'd have an idler and a drive pulley on the shaft here, and then the driving pulley, or I guess on this side, driving pulley running down to what's been a V-belt put on there. You'd run a flat belt up, and this whole shaft would spin, so it's providing the support for the whole swinging thing, and it's also providing the power. And it's nice, this one has the bearing block, so I just need a couple hangers to put on there, and then you mount that on your roof and you set that at the far side of where your boards come off, and you can either square off the ends with it. The swing handle is on the other side, so you can square off the ends of your boards, or use it to cut up cordwood, for example, or wood for the stove, or cut the slabs, anything like that. So butting saw. Here we have the Husk. Now the blade's off. It came with a 48-inch Simmons blade, so you can still get the bits for it, the teeth. Saw guide is an adjustable type. It got dinged here a little bit, but you'd loosen that and then twist these things to set where these little guides ride. Most of it is Babbitt bearing, so this guy, but the front is a great big heavy duty roller bearing, so that's really nice. This thing here, known as the board bandit in some places, lets you you run this against the boards as you're taking lumber off. So instead of advancing the carriage for 2-inch, for example, say you want to cut something into a whole bunch of 2-inch, you set this thing on top to 2-inch. If you look at the bottom, the whole thing kind of moves along, and then you rest this idler against the log. It's seized up, it seems, but rest that against the log, and then every time you just pull the carriage till it butts up, pull it till it butts up, and you keep getting a whole bunch of 2-inch pieces. There's the eccentric for the feed and the reverse. Friction pulleys, this one might need to be redone. It seems like it's plywood or something. That one's done with a whole bunch of sections of belt laminated, so that one should be fine. These cone pulleys give us 3 speeds for the forward direction, which is really nice. You can adjust that depending on the amount of power you have as an input. There's the plaque, Forano, made in Plessyville, just on the other side of Montreal. And it doesn't have, what does it say? Type 1LS5 machine number, but horsepower RPM ratio are not marked. So that's dependent on the blade and the power source. This system here too, the saw guide can be set here or set here based on the size of the blade you want to run. If it's a 48 or a 52, 54 or a 60, I forget the other standard. So anyway, lots to work with here. And then in this box under the blade is being blocked by a rail. Have a peek. So there's one and there's the other. Those are the end pulleys that the cable wraps around. You see some random belt with some old leather lacing on it, some more belt. There's the great big, it's a cast iron drive chain. The other saw has a benefit. The friction pulley, the big one, or the cast pulley in the middle, this one just has this sprocket, and that sprocket goes down under this husk, and it runs across to the drum that winds the cable. That chain can develop slop, and it's not the best. So the other mill has a direct drive, a gear, a big geared shaft that runs right across to the drum. So this one has the chain, not the end of the world, but I'd really like to adapt the other one to work with this, but we'll see. This is the size of the rail. It's a little bit smaller than the other Forano mill that's already here. And there's some bits and pieces, so I'm gonna have to take this out. It looks like that's a bunch of rollers, so I can make a table to accept those, but lots to work with. Lots to work with. Lots of excitement too. Join in next time and you'll see more of this old, I have to resist the urge to say junk, more of this old stuff put back into operation. Till then, have a good one.